Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversations. This is the second hour of the Situation Room this morning, broadcasting on SpiceFM and live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE on Facebook and on YouTube. Our colleague Siti Muga is away, so it's Eric Latif and Nduoko. And the onus falls on me to give you the day's proverb. It's a Somali proverb. Even the brave are scared by a lion 3 times. Firstly, by its tracks, again by its roar, and one last time, face to face. Even the brave, they're scared by a lion 3 times. See the tracks, scare. Hear the roar, scare. Face to face, scare. Don't matter.
So long as it's a lion.
Yeah. What do you think the Somali Wazers were thinking of when they came up with this proverb? So what?
Even the brave.
Yeah. So what are they saying?
There's going to come a time that something in life will shake you. Doesn't matter who you are.
And more than once.
And more than once. So be ready for it. Yeah?
Interesting.
There's my druid moment for the day.
That's an interesting one.
Applause. Thank you.
Let's introduce our guests to the studio for this hour. And he's a man who is a musician. He is a media personality. He is a hype man. He is very many things. And now he's a politician as well. He wants to be the next member of the county assembly for Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course Ward in Kibra constituency of Nairobi City County. Davidson DNG Ngibuini.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you on the show. And it's good to actually see more and more new faces that are saying, I want to throw my heart in the ring.
Yeah.
I want to participate in leadership. I want to be part of the change. So are you joining this so you can be part of the change, or are you joining this so that you can change your circumstances?
My resume.
Yeah, your circumstances, Kabla nikuwe MCA nilikuwa naishi hapa.
Well, first and foremost, my theory of change is very clear. And I know that change is possible. In fact, if you look at my campaign slogan, it's pamoja tutabadilisha. And that means that together we can be the change that we seek to see. So for me, it's a calling. And it's been a progressive endeavor because apart from the music and apart from entertainment, apart from events and doing brand activations for leading companies across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, I've done quite a bit in terms of development. So I have an NGO called 254 Cares. And that's where this all began. And we have 3 initiatives that we run. I have my first baby called the Hustle Yako Initiative, which I began when I was still on radio some years back. And Hustle Yako simply has to do with empower impact change. And just showing young people that they can be better and that they can grow and succeed. So initial target was youth, obviously, because I'm a young person. And it happened because everywhere I'd go, people would recognize me because of my brand and would ask for money. So I realized that even if I was a billionaire, this is not a sustainable way of empowering our people. So I thought about skills development, talent development, taking artists and giving them platforms to showcase their skills, gifts, talents, dived into sports, dived into media, and just creating opportunities and just being a source of linkage, connecting the dots for people. Yeah, I need some airplay, put me on. I need a gig, put them onto a club. I'm looking to be a performing artist, connecting people. So that's what I began to do. And then I moved into the sexual reproductive health and rights space simply because of the challenges that young people face, like HIV/AIDS transmission, STIs, unwanted pregnancies, period shame. That's a huge crisis in our community, and just started tackling that. And I realized that I know so many people, from donors to partners who manufacture these commodities, that I can make a call to, send a WhatsApp message to, get those commodities and distribute for free. It's as simple as that. And then in 2019, I set up a different one called Who's Your Leader on leadership and governance. And if you remember, during the COVID-19 curfew and lockdown, we had a campaign called Unlock Our Country. And I was the vice chair of that movement, One Voice, One People. In fact, I even did some interviews with your sister station, Vibes Radio. And, we're just seeing that it's really unfortunate that Uhuru Kenyatta had to shut down our entertainment industry and many other industries like sports that came on board, hospitality, some media practitioners joined us, creative arts, and did that without considering the economic implication or socio-economic implications for that matter. And for me, that was the last straw of the hat. And I decided, you know what, we can do all the activism we want to do.
Yeah.
But without having a seat at the table, we cannot really influence and affect policy change. Because what happens if you're from the outside and you're trying to bring change in a system, so to speak, it's like a barking dog barking outside. Think of it this way: you're in a sitting room and you're having a kikao, you're eating your pizza, and you're having your tea, you're watching that soccer game, and there's a dog barking. Will that dog really stop you from doing what you're doing?
No.
And for
If it's barking outside.
yeah.
No.
And in my opinion, that's what activism is. I'm not against it. I'm a strong believer, and I'm still an activist at heart, because I believe that if you see an ill in society, you need to speak up and speak out about it or against it. And I decided, you know what, the time for change is now, because we have absolutely no representation as young people. We don't have a voice, and we do need a voice. And even apart from the youth perspective, there's so many other things that are affecting our communities that nobody is talking about. Like from where I come from, Woodley, Kenyatta Golf Course, if after this show, if you drive down, you will see heaps and heaps of garbage. In fact, over the festive season, the garbage has increased phenomenally. Like guys do illegal dumping at night.
Yeah.
So in the morning you come, the heap is bigger. Jana, when I was driving there, because I had a series of meetings with partners, even the guys who dump, one guy, after being paid, they're paid 50-50 bob by different people. They put it in a wheelbarrow or they put it in a mkokoteni. They take it there, dump. So the first thing they do, they buy changa, and the guy had lalad next to the pile, waiting for Johnny for the next cycle of revenue and cycle of garbage. So some of these challenges can be tackled, but nobody is seriously attending to these problems. When you look at sewage, when you look at sanitation, when you look at the cleanliness in our markets, when you look at crime, even as basic as having patrols, man, because we have police officers. In fact, there's a new police station in Kibra, but where are the patrols? We have carjackings and gun crime on the rise again. Guys being timed outside estates in my ward. Currently, I'm talking about current challenges. Who's doing something about it? You call for a security meeting, the area leadership do not appear. You call for public participation, for budget allocation, for all the problems we're dealing with, like drainage, like poor, pathetic roads. They don't come. So how are we going to affect the annual development plan or the county integrated development plan for 2022 and beyond?
I hear you saying all of these things.
Yes.
And it's spirited and passionate, even as you talk about it, because clearly it's something that you feel. But oftentimes what we've seen, and we have a few examples of young people who have then gotten into positions of leadership and then seem to have gotten lost in the system. And it doesn't matter at what level. It doesn't matter at the MCA level, the Member of Parliament level, or whatever, advisor level, seem to have then lost it along the way. How do you know for sure that your passion, the fire of your passion, is not blown out by the politics that clearly exist within the walls of assemblies of parliament?
I don't think these young people get lost in a system. I think it's just lack of vision.
So you're saying they never had it in the beginning?
I think so. Because we've been in media, for example. There's so many people who get into media and do nothing, or don't use their voices for the greater good, or get compromised and start asking people for money for interviews, and so many other scandals that we can keep listing. But there are those in that situation who still and are renowned for using their voices and their platforms for the greater good. Yes? So similarly, in politics, there are those who get into it just because they got an opportunity. Because you're famous and you're a star and the president spotted you and you became boys, you started kunyeng pamoja, and then you got a nomination ticket. And that you landed in a position of leadership. There are people who get in like that, miscellaneously. And those are the kind of people I would say, and I will not name names, but do not have the vision. Because if you ask them, what do you want to change? What do you want to achieve? Apart from the jargon, you cannot point anything that they were doing before getting into leadership that had to do with development. And subsequently, you will not see and they will not elicit anything in terms of development after that. So it is up to the voter, and the onus is on the voter to interrogate this person who is vying for this seat, MCA, MP, women rep, etc. What have they done? Who are they? In terms of development, what can they pinpoint and say? Yani, I've helped one student go to school. I have impacted one artist and they went to studio, got a record deal. I have helped at etc, etc, etc.
Is
You
the
see,
ground
like,
interrogating you?
yes, they
now?
do. In fact, nowadays,
What are some of the questions they're asking you?
What have you
What
done?
are some of the demands that they're making of you, even before we get to the point where now people are casting a vote?
Good question. In fact, our voters have become extremely intelligent. It's not like before. I've done campaigns for the presidency twice. In 2007 and in 2013. In 2017, I did a lot of civic education around political processes. And those days, it was simply razzmatazz. The hype, and that's what we used to sell. You brand these roadshow trucks, cool T-shirts, maze, made of whatever material, dish them out, put some chums together, mobilize, and that's how we used to do campaigns. But today, when you go on ground, because I've been on ground from June last year, just talking to people, tapping into the spirit and the heart and the souls and minds, and trying to understand what do they need and what do they want to see in leaders, and having banter, because it's a co-creative process, and they want to see first, what have you done? So I've spent a lot of time explaining myself, showing them what I've done. And even if you look at my social media platforms, it's very well outlined. So you can be able to click my IG, DNG Kenya, click my community pillars, say 254Ks, and see what I've done under that. Hustle Yako, see what I've done under that. Who's your leader, Punguza, etc. So that's point number one. Point number two, people want to see what you can do for them at the present. So like now, for me, some of my current programs and things I've been doing is, I had a TV platform before we went on air, and I would take 5 artists per week, right? And give them opportunities. Do you know that artists today in Kenya are struggling even to get a USB file accepted by a producer? And a lot of stations are actually commercially charging artists, whether it's chini ya maji or not, to get airplay. So for me, I have an open door policy, and I've had one since I was a presenter in the year 2008, pushing for Kenyan content and pushing for airplay, and empowering artists, to think beyond the superstardom and think, in terms of packaging, branding, monetizing their craft, etc. Apart from that, I've been sponsoring soccer clubs, and I did a soccer tournament called the Grandpa Super Cup. We put together a 1 million Kenya shilling cash prize. And that was, in partnership with other brands, betting companies that I don't think I should mention on air. But, we had a 1 million cash prize tournament. It's the first of its kind in Kibra, perhaps even in Nairobi County. I don't think you can mention any other that has that amount of commercial value, where teams, young people, talented sportsmen and women can, combine their efforts and win that cash, and that's a game changer. Apart from that, I've done a lot in terms of scholarships. In fact, I have a scholarship program where I'm taking 12 students to the University of Nairobi that's supposed to be signed this month, and these are through partners or partnerships.
So you leverage your networks.
My networks, yes.
What else do they ask you? And I'm going to ask you, because when we speak with Boniface Mwangi, for example, he was vying for MP in 2017. And he says, so he'd go and engage with the people the same way you're engaging with the people. And then some people would ask him, okay, Kijana and Sawa, we hear all those things that you're doing, those things that you've done. So which party are you in?
Correct.
And are you aligned to so-and-so or so-and-so? If you're with so-and-so, then that's whole thing. You've done very well, but...
Not yet.
Yeah.
Those are great questions.
Does that
And
come up? I mean, this is Kibra constituency.
It does. It does, and I'll be honest about it. In fact, the good thing in my ward, it's a sort of different demographic from the rest of Kibra. If you look at the demographics, even in terms of the voter data and the kind of people that are registered voters in Woodley, you'll find majority of the traders, the guys in those markets, watu wa chini wa kawaida. And if you know Woodley, Kenyatta Golf Course well, majority of the food in Kibra constituency comes from our market. So it's the Udaya market, it's Toy, it's Jamhuri Shopping Center, it's Kenyatta Market and so on, Adams Market, and the different shops and boutiques and vibandas around that. So it's an economic hub of sorts. You'll find garages, car washes, you'll find salons, anything you want in this city, you can find it in one zone.
Yep.
And those people are very different from the rest of Kibra. I like to say, because they are already doing something about their lives. So these are people who wamejituma, number one. So the issue is not hopelessness or disillusionment per se. I'm not saying that there are no such issues or no such cases, but you'll find that majority are people who have some sort of income generating activity. It may be extremely small. It may be somebody even selling miwa off a wheelbarrow or a chapo or smoky, but they're in business. So the kind of empowerment they want is economic empowerment. These are not.
Are you saying that because of that they are not bothered about your party?
No. What I'm saying is that now they're resonating with the kind of party that I am in. And that is to my advantage.
Okay.
My party, I'm with the UDA party. My party's philosophy is the bottom-up economic policy. And what that means, it's the empowerment of the person who is at the very bottom to scale up the economic ladder. That if you are doing biashara of smokies, how can your biashara of smokies grow? If you have one boda, how can you grow this hustle and take your hustle to the next level and get the second boda? And by getting the second boda, you get additional profit, you have more money in the pocket, and you also create empowerment or employment, for another young person. You get, they resonate with that, they appreciate that, and they're ready for that. Apart from that, now other things they would need is like better developed infrastructure, like the access road network, because if you have better roads, you have customers who are coming into the centers of trade with ease. If you have a cleaner market, where there's no sewage and takataka stinking as you're trying to buy your vegetables, you will have people from far and wide coming to shop. You get what I mean?
Let me ask this question directly.
Yes,
okay,
please.
So yes, you're in UDA and you're going and telling the people, you know what, I'm DNG, this is what I've done, and I'd like to be the MCA for this area.
Yes.
The ward, Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course. So am I right to think,
Yes.
to assume it starts from Kenyatta Market, Mbagathi, right?
Yes.
And then we go up with Ngong Road,
Yeah.
golf course, go all the way to Prestige, all the way to Adams.
Yes.
Where does it go
You
beyond
keep
that?
going. You keep going towards Joseph Kangede Road. You go into Jammu.
Right.
You go up to Dagoretti corner. There is our last polling station is the NCC polling station.
Okay.
Hapo meteorological.
So you get to the Met.
The Met section into race course. And then at the bottom end, there's Kenyatta. So that encompasses KMTC, Kenyatta Estate, and then into Upper Hill.
Right.
So our final polling station on that end is the Upper Hill Secondary School.
So
Which
all
is
the way
huge.
from Upper Hill up to Met Station.
Yes.
That's your ward.
That's my ward.
When you go to these people and you're telling them this is what I've done and this is what I'd like to do, and they're listening to you and hearing, okay, yeah, you're talking about bottom up and all. So those that support Ruto immediately connect with you.
Yes, that's one.
Those that support Raila and those that support the Oka principles, what do they tell you?
Now, there are those who will ask me why I'm not with, say, ODM.
Right.
In fact, I get that quite a bit from the ODM diehards, and that's honest. And I give them my reasons for being in UDA. I tell them why not ODM, and I convince them to vote for me. You see, there's a conversation where, and it's progressive, and by the time they are seeing what DNG is doing for the community, and comparing even with their counterparts in their party, they're able to see the difference. So we have a switched on voter base that is also trying to say, especially kwa hizi viti zetu za chini, hizi za MCA level.
Yeah.
Uko, sometimes it's not even about the party, it's about the individual. Where you'll find somebody saying, President, I'll vote for person A, but huku chini, nachagua ule yenyewe niko naye kwa ground na naona huyu, kwanza tunaweza mpata, tunaweza muaccess, anatusikiza na anatuelewa, na tunaona anaweza deliver. So you see, it's a progressive conversation.
Right.
So if we're talking about a progressive conversation, then probably we're looking at a situation where then politics has progressed in this country. And I'm asking you if this is what you're saying, essentially, that whereas we were looking at an individual to essentially be the messiah of development, that now people are actually going to look towards issues, and people are looking towards development, and people are looking towards what can actually save a situation as opposed to an individual. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in some essence. Of course, the salvation, so to speak, in terms of economic development will be driven by an individual. At the end of the day, it is an elected leader of an area, whether it's the country or the ward or the constituency, who will bring that change. You see, so that is the conduit of change of governance, right? But we are in a situation where people are actually interrogating. And you'll find that, and I'll say this point blank, you'll find ODM guys who are Baba diehards, who are questioning, what has Baba done for them? And they're like, hey, hata kama sisi ni watu ODM na tumekuwa na Baba hizi miaka zote, Baba ametufanyia nini? So we have those kind of questions. And that's a good question coming from a diehard of a party, because that means that what they're actually looking for is development. So if another party or another aspirant is coming in with a better development strategy, then that means that that voter is open to change.
I hear you on that. I'm very interested in the how-tos of the strategy. Because it sounds nice, it sounds, pleasant to the ear. But then to have an intimate knowledge of this strategy and what exactly it's going to do, because I'm talking about the nitty-gritty here. It sounds great for somebody to have a a motorcycle, and say, you know what, in 2 years, this one can become 3. How?
So you tell us, so what is it? What is your vision for this particular ward? What's your vision for Nairobi County as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Then you'll tell us then the how.
The how.
What do you want to do for the people of this ward that you want to represent? How do you hope to get the results done? So, your manifesto, DNG.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to do?
So my campaign slogan first is Pamoja Tutabadilisha, which is my theory of change, that together we can be the change we seek to see. I know that it's not a single man job. It takes the entire community. I'll just give you an example why. The garbage issue. It's not garbage dropping from the sky. It's garbage from our people. And if people are sensitized that they need to stop illegal dumping, and if the Nairobi County government, for example, sets up dustbins, because there are no public dustbins in the entire ward.
And
Right.
Nairobi.
Yeah. At least in Tao, you'll see some where you can drop your cigarette butt, you can drop your chewing gum, your water bottle after as you crisscross. But in the ward,
Yep.
there is none. So as you are cooling your miwa or maize, where do you throw it?
Yeah.
So it's a real challenge. And then, in the markets, you'll find that there's perhaps one central dumping spot where once in a while, when these chaps decide to come and pick up the garbage, they do. It's disorganized. It is not periodic, and it cannot be planned for. And I feel like those are some of the challenges, and those are some of the ways that we can tackle those problems. So it's together that we can bring the change that we seek to see. So in terms of what's my campaign manifesto, I have 4 pillars. Pillar number 1 is community engagement. That means that we need to engage our people, and our people need to feel included in decision-making processes. They need to be included in the governance, in the solutions, because the solutions need to come from within, because it's co-creation, and that's how you get buy-in. Just using that example I've given of garbage. If people understand that this is your place, hii pali unatupa hii takataka, hapo ndio customer yako anapitia. Ukiharibu hii soko, watu wataacha kukuja kwa hii soko. Waende kwa soko zingine or kwa duka zingine, na utapoteza profit. That is what engagement is about. And even things like crime, for example, it's our people that need to be engaged, and they need to be engaged with a socioeconomic angle, so that they stop the crime and they stop the social vices that trigger the crime. So community engagement for me is so important. Also because we're coming from a backdrop of tribalism. Kibra has a mix of perhaps all the tribes you can imagine, from the Nubians to the Kikuyus to the Luos to the Luyas, Kistis, Kambas, Kales, yani everybody is there. So we have seen in the current administration where even things like bursaries are distributed based on tribe. Na kujuana. Or even guys calling, MCA calling chaps from the shags and saying, you know what, kuna bursary, watu wa Woodley ambao wamepiga kura ya Woodley, wanakosa hizo bursary. That is a real situation, right? So, hiyo ubaguzi, hiyo ukabila, mi nataka kukata. That's number one. Number two, it's socio-economic empowerment. Simply because if you know Kibra is the largest slum in sub-Saharan Africa. Our challenges predominantly are poverty and unemployment. If we can tackle socio-economic empowerment, if we can provide that opportunity for our people, then we have a better ward, we have a better constituency, better county with improved livelihoods for the constituents and for the residents and for the voter at large. So socio-economic empowerment is something I'm very passionate about. As I told you earlier, I've been doing Hustle Yako way before I decided to get into elective leadership. And then number three is health. As I told you earlier, I had begun my Punguza initiative in 2019 on sexual reproductive health and rights, HIV/AIDS, etc. And now because we're in a community setting, I've expanded that simply because now I'm not just dealing with youth. I'm dealing with wazee, I'm dealing with retirees, I'm dealing with women, I'm dealing with older men, and there are real health challenges. And health is a challenge for our community because of the really high medical bills that come from health complications. I'll give you an example. There's a case I took on towards the end of last year where a lady's brother passed on at one of our hospitals, Kenyatta National Hospital. And this guy died. He had been in the ICU, and the bill was 2.84 million Kenya shillings. Now, the family kama kawaida ni harambe, sindio? That's number one, mheshimiwa, ni tunafanya harambe. So after the changa, I was put in the WhatsApp group tracking, as you know, asked them, mumefika wapi? They had changad 6,380. And there's even 380. I guess chomoa 20 shillings, maza. Imefika 80 bob.
Out of a bill of 2.84 million.
Yani, even if I was to give them 50,000 or 10 or 100K, even if I was to give them $1 million, which I don't have, because me and my young on the hustle, right? It won't clear that bill. So what do I do? First and foremost, networks. Back to the network thing that I told you. I'm a very resourceful person. Hakuna mtu sijui nchi. From police to majaji to people in government, proper in terms of ministerial,
the
etc.
deputy president.
So I made a call first to an elected leader who had told me when I decided I'm going to vie, because when I decided I'm going to vie, I called my friends who were in government, senator level, governor level, hivo, different levels of serikali, to just pick from their brains, what do you think? You know, tapping into wisdom, because there are people who've done this before, failed at it, succeeded at it. So I collated all this, and one guy told me, "Manza ukiwa na shida, utapata shida, watu watakuletea shida zao zote. Nipigie ukiwa na shida fulani ya health." Sawa. So I always benchmark all conversations I have. So I called him. I'm like, "Sasa, I'm making that call because I don't use my networks for bure. It's when I really need it." So I told him, "I have this issue, 2.84 million. Hata tukianza kuchangisha hatutatoboa. Si ndio? How many people do you have who will give you 20 G's today?"
Difficult.
Ngumu zaidi. Ndio ifike 2.84 hatutatoboa. So the guy introduced me to somebody, and we got that bill waived. And that is leadership. Leadership is about solving problems for our community, solving problems for people who are struggling, who are vulnerable, who have no other way. Because I believe, and I've been telling my community, that this seat, MCA, is not for DNG.
Sure.
It's a key.
So that's health.
Key, that's health.
Fourth pillar
is socio-economic. Sorry, I beg your pardon. It's servant leadership and good leadership. Servant leadership and good governance. And that's my fourth pillar, and that's now my promise to the people, that upon election, I'll be a servant leader, because I'm already a servant leader. And you, upon electing me, you'll find a leader who is big on service to humanity, because it's service to God. And for me, this is a legacy program. And I want to serve my people. I've been called to this because my people I need, my people are suffering, and they need a way out. And I have offered myself to be that solution.
Okay, so With those things, let me just repeat the pillars. First pillar, community engagement. You
Yes.
want to make sure that all decisions are made with the community, all conversations are had with the community. Second pillar, socioeconomic empowerment. Third pillar, health. Fourth is servant leadership
And good governance.
and good governance. When you go to City Hall and you're the MCA, how will you get this done to address the needs of the people in this vast ward?
So
How will you get? I can see community engagement because that involves you going to the community and engaging the community.
Yes.
How do you make sure that the county government of Nairobi is discussing issues of socioeconomic empowerment for the people of this particular ward, Woodley, Kenyatta, Gulf?
So first, I've already mapped out the problems and the needs of the people through the community engagement I've done since June to present. And how it works in the Nairobi County government, there's a budgeting process because all these things we want to do, from garbage management to security, whether we're saying we're going to have improved lighting, to infrastructure, things like drainage, roads, toilets. Imagine a market like Odaya Market doesn't have toilets. They go to defecate or help themselves at Adams Market. Yani, it's something, perhaps you're listening to me and you're like, it's unbelievable. But believe me, even when I
Is it
visit,
a formal
bit of a
market?
distance.
it's a formal market.
So it's a formally recognized market.
Yes,
gazetted.
Yes, because
in the
markets are
city.
gazetted. You see, you can't just start a market.
Okay.
It's gazetted and they pay the county fees.
Yep.
And
But
in fact,
they
it's
don't
next
have-
to the chief's office.
Is there a toilet in the chief's office?
No.
So no toilet in the chief's office, no toilet in the entire Odaya
Yes.
market.
I was there the day before yesterday.
Right.
I had a meeting with the chief and a meeting with the, and I'm still doing campaigns, you know, like talking to people, having conversations. And when I want to use the restroom, I have to go all the way and pay
To Adams Market.
to Adams Market. So those are real problems. So how it works, back to budgeting, because that's you know, a lot of people do not understand where the budgets come from. So budgets are done beforehand. So there's the annual development plan for the county that is done every year. So every year they look at what are the issues, what needs to be prioritized, what needs to be factored in, what needs to be delivered for the people. And it's done per ward, per sub-county, totaling to the 17 sub-counties in Nairobi County to the 85 wards in Nairobi County. Then there are the County Integrated Development Plans, CIDPs. So CIDPs are done every 5 years. So like now we have a CIDP for 2018 to 2022. Now, the next CIDP for 2022 onward is the public participation was done before we went for the December holidays, right? It was announced by the Nairobi County government. For me, I mobilized my people to attend. I also mobilized my people to give me their views because you'll find that people are busy.
Yeah.
Trader ameendea mizigo marikiti.
They're not gonna wait for you
hata
to show
ngoja
here.
ati sub-county administrator ama
Meeting.
ward administrator akuja wasome budget nini. So the role of the member of county assembly is representation of the people. So I have already taken up that role because that role has an absentee MCA. So I've been, as I said, collecting the views of my community, and I attended that public participation forum. I even led the one for my ward. Because leadership starts now. Leadership is about taking initiative. And when you see a gap, you rally and you take on that agenda. So we've tabled issues like the toilets. We've tabled issues of the roads. We've tabled issues of garbage management. And now you see how it happens during public participation is where you table the things or projects
The
you want to
needs.
see done, the needs. And then they go to now to a budgeting exercise. And then it is tabled before the county assembly. Now, by the time this is happening, there will be the regime change. God willing, DNG will be elected, MCA, Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course Ward 2022. So when I'm there, I'm defending a budget that I was part of creating. I am pushing for inclusion of issues that I was part of driving.
So you're already
Me,
there.
I'm already working, but I'm working without a salary. I'm working without perhaps a legal mandate.
Okay.
But my people have told me, hizi ndio vitu tunataka tufanyiwe, tusaidie.
The challenges that we see, because very many people, even at the National Assembly, will talk about, I have brought in the issues of my constituents to this particular assembly.
Yes.
But then I'm meeting other competing interests. In your case, you'll be going there with issues of Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course Ward, and meeting 84 other MCAs with other issues from their wards. How do you defend yours? How do you make sure that yours are mainstreamed? How do you make sure that when you go back to Othaya Market, you can tell them the issue of our toilet will not be in this year's budget because of all these other factors, but it will be in the next one.
Latif, believe it or not, the issues in Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course that represents the best mix of Nairobi. Because Woodley, you'll find guys from the slum. You'll find people who have vibandas at, say, Othaya Market, who live in Kibera.
Yep.
Perhaps even in a different ward in Kibera, like Lindi or Sarangombe or Makina or Line Saba. The same way you go to Kenyatta Market and somebody lives in Line Saba, but shop yake ama duka yake iko wapi? Iko kwa hiyo soko. Then you'll also find the peri-urban, the middle class, the guy who lives in Joseph Kangede Estate, Ngumo, who is struggling with that same garbage issue,
Yep.
who is the guy being carjacked, carjacking start at exactly 7 p.m. Yani kukiwa, there's even a schedule and a time. And there's an area where carjacking ziko. Pahali hakuna soko, ndio pahali wezi wako. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Pali watu ni wengi, hakuna wizi, utapigwa na utachomwa. Lakini pali kuna kagiza
Secluded
kidogo
areas.
secluded, unapigiwa. Mushai Drive, the area from Sunview Estate going to Mimosa Court.
Yeah.
Hapo ni moto. Sawa. Now,
So how do you mainstream your issues?
about mainstreaming, so you'll find that the issues are similar. If you go to Isili, you find garbage. If you go to Pumwani, you find garbage. If you go to Ngara, Latif today, you find garbage. The same markets I'm talking about that need development, that need improvement, and also traders who are so cramped up and they need new markets, because we also need to develop new markets, urban markets.
Yep.
It's this. The issue is the same in all sub-counties. Perhaps you would say maybe Kilimani ward ndio iko sawa juu imeng'ara. There are some wards that are doing better than others. That is given. But majority of the issues, and about county assembly is about lobbying. And lobbying is about numbers. And for me, I am a people's person, number one. I'm very tactful, very strategic. You guys know me. I know how to wiggle through. I know how to build network. So about being in the county assembly pushing for issues, it is now to engage the other 84 members of county assembly to see things progressively. Because what we want as a city or as Nairobi City County is progression. It's development. There's nobody who lives in this city who doesn't want to see a clean city. There's nobody who lives in this city who doesn't want to shop in a decent place.
Sure. I am a proponent for development begetting development. Even if you start with, very little, it gives birth to more. That's just how it happens. I don't understand the formula or the magic behind it, but that's how it happens. You develop a little part, and somebody sees it, triggers development in other areas. Now, with what you've said, with your networks and even the example that you gave, is your strategy sustainable? That even if it's 5 years that you would serve in this position, and I say serve, and I've chosen that word deliberately, that you would, you're aspiring to serve in that position. After 5 years, are they things that you would have done, or are there ideas that you would have planted that would be sustainable regardless of who is in that seat after those 5 years?
Correct. Like now, for example, if you talk about developing new markets, and I say that because we have traders who have told me, like I'll give you an example of Adams Kid. You find that section, there was beautification that was done. So all the traders that were trading at that section have been either forced out or have been clamped into the small other vibandas to share. So you have a small cubicle being shared by 2-3 guys. Yani nguo zako ziko juu ya mwingine na mwingine juu ya mwingine. And they told me tutafutie pahali tunaweza fanyia kazi. And the Nairobi County government has land. Did you know that?
Yep.
Land that is available. I'm not talking about now at it's like
Going to
SGR,
buy,
we're going to buy land. No, land eco. Like now you look at if you can map out so many properties that are owned by the Nairobi County government that are idle. And those are the ones that are used by land grabbers. Juu iko idle, hakuna kitu ina happen hapo, mtu anakuja anaweka mabati. Ndani anaweka Masai. Hai, anamwaga mchanga kokoto, and the land is grabbed in this city, right? So why can't the Nairobi County government allocate that idle land for commercial purpose? Remember, the Nairobi County government is about revenue collection. The traders pay revenue, and they're ready to pay revenue. all they need is a place to trade. Doesn't that now declutter our roads, where people have been encroaching in the roads because they have nowhere else to trade? So even for the residents who are middle class, who are like maze, kwa gate yangu kuna msee ameweka nini hapo, anapata huo msee amepata nafasi. Garages, they are on the roads because they don't have anywhere else to be. Unapata paka magari zinawekwa hapo. So those are sustainable solutions where I can say, for example, if this goes well and if the budget is approved, that we fought for markets to be created, new markets and upgrades of the older markets, and that's a legacy program. So if I'm coming to my people after 5 years, I'll be coming with a CV.
Yes.
And saying, this is what I've done. Kama mnaona kazi yangu ni mzuri, mtanirudisha kwa kiti.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that we've seen in the last 5 years of Nairobi City County, which is devolution has flopped in Nairobi. There's no other way of putting it. Services, functions of the Nairobi City County government have gone to national government. Now, how would you protect devolution in Nairobi?
First and foremost, I stand with devolution, Latif. I do not like illegalities. And for me, that's why I'm anti-Uhuru Kenyatta and how he makes his decisions. And I've said that publicly, and I say it again today. You cannot subvert our constitution. Our constitution has come from, and if you know Kenya's history very well, it has come from a place of draconian rule, single-handedness. Yani the almighty president does whatever he wants. So you have a scenario where even if it is declared illegal, it will still be forced through because utadu, mindo rice, utadu nini. But what does that do? We have now an NMS that perhaps is a branch of the military that cannot be audited. I was in a public participation exercise where there was an NMS brief of what has been done. So it's in chunks.
Yep.
Like we've spent 150 million, what. So I'm interrogating this to the ward administrator and the sub-county administrator who are employees of the Nairobi County government. Where are the breakdowns?
How this is going to work,
you've
or how
allocated,
this had actually worked.
You've allocated X, like for example, Joseph Kangede Social Hall, something where there was a budget there that has been allocated 61 million. The hall is a stalled project.
But the money was spent.
The money was spent. It's no longer in the balance of the account. But it's a stalled project.
So
it's
how
a
will you
shell.
protect devolution?
So first and foremost, we need to go back to what the founders of and the visionaries who put together the constitution had envisioned, that each area, each county, each zone, regional zone needs to be able to govern itself, because our issues are not the issues of the next county.
Indeed.
Isn't it? So first we need to revert back to the old system where we have a governor who has functions. It's pointless to have a governor, a deputy governor,
That's
and
all
have
true.
CECs who are earning salaries and have
That's all
CEOs.
true. You know, we had a governor.
Yeah.
In fact, we have a governor. We had a governor who signed off functions
Yeah.
to the national
Makosa
government.
zaidi, makosa.
And we had a county assembly that just sat back.
And did nothing.
They were given something to debate, and they debated and,
they
they passed
debated
it.
and passed it.
Yeah. So first and foremost, and I would call upon the residents of Nairobi, the registered voters of Nairobi City County, remove all those MCAs.
Because essentially,
remove
you know what
them.
they were saying, Davidson, and I'm going to call you that now.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
they say now we call you by your name so that we
Yes.
get serious. Because you know what they said essentially is that we are unable to handle this job.
That's it. And they
We
need to
are
go
agreeing. We are agreeing that we cannot do this.
Yeah. It's
So
such
the
an
question
absolute
then
failure.
also then is at your doorstep to say you get in and the waters are murky. It's difficult. There's a lot of politics in there. It's ugly. Will you be able to withstand it? And these things that you say today, you will be saying them
Yeah.
at that time.
You know
that
me-
you will not be unwavered in your
Yeah.
position.
Believe it or
because
not,
that's
eh?
what happens.
I'll give you an example of how I am true to my north. Do you know I am Uhuru Kenyatta's strongest critic? Why? I participated in campaigning for him in 2013. I am on record wearing a TNA shirt, traversing the country as a lead MC for the Dunda na Uhuruto campaign. I know exactly what that manifesto was because I stood in the dust, in the sun, sweating, talking to Kenyans countrywide,
Selling it.
selling it. So the time, and if you go back to my Facebook page and see my notes, as soon as he got into power and started bringing back the old guard who we had rejected at the ballot box, that is when I began to sever my links. Because we cannot say that we envision and believe that this country will be better in the hands of young leaders. And then the first thing is to return Kinasa Mungeri and giving youth positions to Mudi Awori. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. That is lying. That is cheating the people of Kenya. I stand for truth. Whether you'll give me a position, give me money or not, sijali.
Let's wrap
I
up.
stand for truth.
Let's wrap up.
And I will defend the people of Nairobi Latif.
So
And I'm ready for those murky waters.
You want to be the MCA for Woodley, Kenyatta Golf Course Ward?
Yes.
That starts from Upper Hill, like we said, going into Kenyatta National Hospital, Mbagathi, Kenyatta Market, Race Course, up Prestige, up Adams Arcade, up Jamhuri, all the way into the Dagoretti Corner Met. Speak to those people in 30 seconds.
So to the people of Woodley, Kenyatta Golf Course Ward, my name is Davidson, DNG Ngibuini, incoming MCA. And I'm ready to serve you. I'm ready to get rid of years of perennial sabotage, corruption, tribalism, ubaguzi, and mismanagement of public resources, and absenteeism in leadership and governance. Because we have an MCA who is absent, who does not show up. When the market burns, he's absent. When traders are being battered, he's absent. When NMS is coming with the GSU, he's absent. I'm ready to serve and I'm available and accessible. Vote me in. Tunaanza na nomination ya chama April. The window is April 16th to 22nd. We'll declare a date. Follow me on DNG Kenya, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'll give you more information. Tutakutana kwa ground ni support. Na uchukue kura. Chukua kura ya Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course Ward. Pamoja tutabadilisha.
Thank you very much, DNG. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.